podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to No Question About That Daily. Today I'm here with Adam and we're going to talk about Manchester City's struggles ahead of the derby. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Let's hope I'm doing this good on Monday.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Look, at our age, and I think I'm a few years older than you, a football match should not ruin your weekend. Unfortunately, if we lose this one, it'll ruin my weekend.
Ruin my week.
Yeah.
I think we can make exceptions for like derbies and rivalry games. I think those ones where it fucks up your day, I think we can make an allowance for that.
We can. All right. We're not going to crow too much because we don't want to chance it, because obviously they're going to turn into peak Barcelona 2011 on Sunday. Of course they are. They've been absolute shower for, weeks on end now. And we'll talk a little bit about why that's the case. So they've got 7 defeats in the last 10 games in all competitions. In that time, just the 1 victory. And we can talk about some of the obvious stuff like injuries and then some tactical issues as well, and just try and dig into why and what they might look to do against United on Sunday. So I guess let's take it off the top. What's your kind of gut reaction about what's going wrong with City at the moment?
Laughing from deep in my gut? Are we just speaking purely from that?
Yeah. Well, you got to enjoy it.
You first go to the main thing. That's got to be Rodri, right? I think that's obviously key. We know about their bragging about the win-loss record or the lack of losses when he's in the side. But I do think it goes deeper than that. They were having issues before Rodri's ACL injury. So you can go to a few things. The age of their squad. And we know the amount of football that all clubs are playing, and we know that injuries are affecting every club. I don't really buy injury excuses for any club now because they're all going through it. They all have sufficient squad depth generally. And the funny thing about Manchester City's injuries is they're supposed to be this well-drilled tactical team, so he's pulling pieces, but they are suffering from a lack of continuity because they are having players come in and out. Again, a problem that all clubs are having. So it has to be deeper, right? So when you've won that much the way that they have, complacency definitely has to be a factor. They've done it all now. They've won their fake treble. So, for me, I sort of wonder if the problems are bigger, if they've failed to turn over the squad adequately, something Sir Alex Ferguson was always very good at, being ahead of that and being proactive with rebuilding when the sun's out as opposed to when there's holes in the roof and it's raining. So you can go to a few things, and you also have to wonder how much the case hanging over them, their lack of activity in the transfer market in the summer was a bit of a question mark on that. How many of these factors are just compounding on top of them? And they've never faced adversity like this as a group. So, And neither's Pep in his career. And it's not like he's going to make big tactical switches. He's very rigid. He'll make those he'll make a surprising decision in a big game with his 11, but that's about the extent of it, right? So,
yeah. The ACL injury to Rodri, I kind of in my mind just assumed that he got injured, they turned to shit. And they actually played 7 games between Rodri's injury in the 2-2 draw against Arsenal and their first defeat of this series. So they had sort of a few weeks to kind of adjust to it. But I do think there's a kind of compounding effect, because you think about who they've tried to play in midfield alongside Rodri. They played John Stones in midfield. So he likes to have that double pivot in front of, was quite often now a back 3, not always. Sometimes 4 centre-backs across the back there. They tried a Nathan Ake there. Both of those are injured at the moment, and they've got other defensive injuries as well. So I kind of feel like the injuries have compounded just in the kind of wrong way. And Pep said something interesting after the defeat to Juventus on Wednesday night, and he said, we are being hit with a lot of transitions. I'm paraphrasing that because he always speaks in these riddles, but basically what he said. And Rodri was the key to stopping those transitions. Add to the fact that it looks kind of old in midfield, old or inexperienced. They played Rico Lewis, quite inexperienced in there, talented player, obviously, but nowhere near the kind of gravitas of Rodri. Or they've played Bernardo and De Bruyne. De Bruyne just coming back from a very long injury himself. Just looks like there's no legs there. I can't remember which defeat it was. I'm just looking at the list here. Was it the away to Liverpool? They looked like completely threadbare in the centre of midfield there. And so it feels like these have added on top of each other. And then you just wonder, like, as you said, with the age of the squad, are they able to press with the kind of manic intensity that they once did? Because, again, coming back to some of the things Pep has said, they kill themselves pressing, so the opposition kills themselves when they have the ball. Why do we keep the ball, he said? So the opposition kills themselves running when we have it. And that's not quite the same anymore, is it? With the kind of ineffectiveness of the City press when they're so sort of old as a team. I don't know. Am I clutching at straws? But it kind of feels like we might have something there.
I don't think it's clutching at straws. I mean, we've seen the same thing at Manchester United, just an inability when you have a lack of athleticism, whether it's down to age or player type, you can't effectively run a press. And those players run themselves into the ground. And eventually it just doesn't hold up for 90 minutes. I think modern football just demands a different level of athleticism from players. And I think as well, we've seen because of the tactical evolution of most clubs in the Premier League, is that gap is closing tactically. And so those little edges, I think the bigger clubs had, they don't have anymore. And then with City's age and everything, it just doesn't seem like they are as relentless as they were. Always felt like there was this inevitability to them. You don't sense that. Like when they were down against Juventus, never felt like they were just inevitably coming back. And Juventus haven't been a good side this season. It's not like they're losing to world beaters.
Yeah.
They're losing to sides with problems of their own. So
that's very true. I mean, it's really only Liverpool in this 10-match sequence that you could say a team in great form, and Liverpool are in, sadly, great form in all competitions at the moment. They even lost to Spurs. You know, this is Spurs.
Spurs are world beaters. They just don't beat everyone else.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, they conceded City 20-something goals in this sequence as well, which is amongst the highest in the top 5 leagues of any teams. So shocking amount of goals conceded and chances given up. And I actually think it's the number of chances they give up is even more shocking than the actual goals they've given up as well. It seems like I dig into the data and it's like a huge spike on the number of chances. And in fact, if you look at the different XG differential, this is kind of an interesting one. The City's XG differential, defensive versus attacking XG, is greater than at any point during Pep's time as manager of City.
It's like a fever dream, Ed.
Yeah. Look, it would be well within our rights to crow about this. There's just a little thing nagging at the back of my head going, of course they'll fix all their problems in time for Manchester United on Saturday. Of course they will. Of course they are. Every football fan in the same position would do that, I think. But yes, I mean, they well deserve it, given the epic industrialized scale of cheating that they have participated in over the last 15 years or so. They would well deserve losing on the pitch, losing in court, and we can talk a little bit more about that. And then having some weapons-grade material dropped on the Etihad just to complete the real treble, which should annihilate those fuckers. Yeah, sorry, couldn't help myself. The court case, I mean, you mentioned this earlier. Is it weighing on them? There was something interesting this week. Was it Bruno who said it? He said, when talking about Dan Ashworth, we don't think about that at all. And so in one sense you go, well, they shouldn't think about that at all. It's lawyers and it's a court case and it's the Premier League and it's all very esoteric. And yet, at the back of their minds, a lot of them have got to be thinking, well, hang on a minute, this club could be relegated and I've got to find another team next season. Yeah, it'd kind of be natural not to think about that and to wonder whether that's taking a point or two of edge off them.
Yeah, I mean, we can only speak from our own experience, right? And sort of the fan experience online in the sports bar, the rancid sports bar that is Twitter or X, is that those achievements are largely discredited by wider fans. If you're a player and we live in a more online generation of football than we've ever seen, how can that not play on your mind a little bit? I mean, Dan Ashworth's one thing, but it's when a situation's hovering over your entire club. We've seen what the speculation in the media, the relentless nature of the media can do to players at Manchester United under the pressure cooker of that. This is something completely different that hovers over their club. I mean, we've got threats of expulsion, threats of just a relegation. Is a Phil Foden, like a Phil Foden might be a little bit different. He's younger. I can stay in a lower league for one season if it's one season or something like that. But if you're Ruben Dias and you're a bit older and the prime of your career, you have to be wondering, or Erling Haaland, you have to be wondering, what does my immediate future look like? How easy is it going to be for me to leave on my terms? So I don't think, like, they're still human beings at the end of the day. I think this is a completely different beast to, like, you know, an executive appointment. So for me, I don't know how you couldn't be thinking about it. And it's not like they've got this relentless drive to win titles because they've done all that. So I think there just has to be a complacency, a mental stress. I think anyone would know that when you've got something on your mind, it's really hard to perform optimally, even just at your daily job. So yeah. I don't see how it can't be affecting them. And yeah, football's so demanding with so many games now. I just, like, my wife couldn't believe it that we were playing today and then playing over the weekend. I just had to explain that to her. So it's got to be difficult. I don't know how it can't be.
Try explaining to my wife when I'm watching 4 games a day during the World Cup or the Euros. Yeah. Well, whatever. She married into it. It's her fault. Yes.
Had the same conversation.
I can't tell exactly how engaged City fans, City players are. Obviously, City fans are very engaged with this and like completely dismissive of it, of course, because they're bought into the cult, which was the whole point. Weaponizing fans is part of the sports washing process. Of course, and they've done that very effectively, same with Newcastle. So it's really hard to tell. But I think generally speaking, younger players are too online. And we've seen this with, Marcus Rashford, I feel, get the sense that he's pulled back a little bit. He's a bit in broadcast mode. He was engaging and reacting to things a couple of years ago. I mean, he asked the United stand, for example, to stop talking nonsense. They didn't, sadly, and have spawned 1,000 little cunts like them across X in particular, where this kind of stuff is monetized. A little bit different. I don't see a lot of City fans like weaponizing this to have a go at City players in some way, far from it. But would the younger players be scrolling through social media, especially Instagram? Yeah, I think they probably would, right? It's not quite real-time conversation in the same way, but I think they're there and they're looking and they're probably engaging in some of the TikToks and the analysis and wondering, and maybe it does play on their mind. And maybe we're in a situation where it's a perfect storm of tactical things, age of squads, injuries, off the field issues, the fact that they didn't freshen the squad up and it can get a bit stale, especially with the very demanding nature of Pep Guardiola's coaching regime. And so I wonder whether all these things have kind of come together. On the pitch, I mean, it looks really chaotic, though, doesn't it? I mean, it beat Forest a couple of weeks ago. That was pretty easy. I mean, obviously, we didn't have it easy against Forest. But every single other game, they've looked all over the place. This has not been, hey, they look normal, they've been a bit unlucky, it's a bad VAR call, or something like that. They've been good value. I mean, they should have lost against Palace the other day. And they didn't. But that should have been an 8th defeat in the last 10, really. And they just don't seem... The thing that Pep said after Juve, which is we are getting caught on the transitions, but we can't play another way. I was like, no, surely you've got to play another way. You've got to find a different methodology here. And he hasn't.
Well, it's adapting to your personnel, right? So there's some coaches who are rigid and make fit players into their tactics, and there's some coaches that adapt to their players, and that's not what he's willing to do. And Yeah, I think we're seeing that. Like you sort of think about Erling Haaland and him just being like, just consider him a poacher, right? Because he's not a well-rounded forward. He's just exceptionally good at scoring goals. You can carry that sort of player when you have the excellence that City have had in the prime of their football, but they don't have that at the moment. So you sort of saw against Juventus, and there was a few tweets around about how little he did in those 90 minutes. You can't carry that with where they're at. So I don't know why there's such a stubbornness to change outside of this is all. Well, I guess like there's like an arrogance to that style of football. We've seen what Rodri said about how other teams play, and there just seems to be this belief that this way is the only way.
Yeah, and
it can't be, because we've like they're having the same sort of defensive issues that Manchester United had last season. I mean, they don't have the donut in midfield, but it's an alternative. It's like you said, the chaos and the quality of chances they're giving up. That's not the Manchester City we've known. They're a team that's actually been like, it's not that they're, a Barcelona style of relentless goal scoring alone, or it's like this slingshot football now, whereas before that was so defensively solid. And like you said, because of that double pivot, they would always have protection. And Rodri's like a bit of a cheat code in that aspect. But it is so much more than that. I almost think like it's a fingernail deep analysis to say that it's Rodri alone, because it's so much more than that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. They let Alvarez go in the summer, and he was if Haaland's the pure goal scorer, Alvarez was the all-round footballer. And he's having a good season at Atleti. He's scoring goals as well as being the all-round footballer, and they didn't replace him with someone. And it's been City's philosophy over the last 10 years or so, especially since Pep came in, that they would let players go if players wanted to go. And Alvarez clearly felt like he was always second choice, and they weren't going to play two up front. So it was either playing a wide area or have the occasional rotational game. And he wanted to be the main man, and fair enough. But they've always brought another person in to, they let Sane go, they let Mahrez go, they brought in Grealish, and they brought in Bernardo Silva, and they've just kind of replaced and replaced and replaced. I probably haven't got the order of things right there, but always sort of, unlike most other clubs, they can fall back on the fact that their financials are surprisingly good for a regional club. I wonder why that is. I don't know. It's amazing how all these global brands want to be associated. Abu Dhabi brands want to be associated.
Based out of a certain country.
Amazing. But they've always been able to be secure in the knowledge that, one, they have an excellent structure at City where they can find the right kind of players that are brought in specifically for Pep, and they feel confident in letting players go because they'll replace them. They didn't do that last summer, which is really interesting, added to the fact that some of the key players De Bruyne is picking up more and more injuries now. Not surprising. He's been an all-action player for a very long time, and it's kind of catching up with him. And then you get a few other players who are out of form. Jack Grealish hasn't scored in 44 games. Can you imagine if, I know this is Route 1 analysis, but as a Manchester United forward, £100 million United forward, we make fun of Anthony because he's not very good. Jack Grealish was good. So it's more akin to the Marcus Rashford situation, where it's gone completely toxic online and people seem to hate him and they're doorstepping him, and it seems to be really, visibly seems to have got to him, right? So they would have United fans would have beaten the guy's door down and stormed the capital or something like that. But City fans are kind of like, yeah.
It seems to be this excuse because they've won trophies that he wouldn't face criticism. If that was a Manchester United player, they would still face criticism. It's just we draw a line at criticising players for their football, right? I think that's the whole Rashford discourse that people struggle with, is that the things are going beyond football at the moment. And so the leaks about lifestyle and things. But when we're talking about Grealish, he's scored I think he scored 14 goals since he signed. Anthony signed a year later and has scored 12 goals for Manchester United. So, if all things are equal, and, he's just a completely different player to who he was at Villa. That individual brilliance he's had has been coached out of him. That's the way I see it. It's the downside of the robotic style of football that City play. Some players just don't fit it. If they're Flair style players, I just don't think they fit. Riyad Mahrez might be an exception, but he was just a brilliant player, such a good technical player. Yeah, so I don't really understand the difference. And, Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku, Jack Grealish, they've all struggled this season, had far worse seasons than players on the other side of Manchester. I know if you saw the vote, actually, on which side of Manchester was the superior colour, but it was pretty red. I did enjoy that. I'm saving that one. Saving that one.
Run by a betting company. I am.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm very like, it is social media and everyone's like fighting for engagement and attention and stuff like that, especially where it's sort of monetized. It incentivizes very bad behaviors. Betting companies, corporations, they're all trying to get attention, of course. You kind of understand it and you can go, yeah, fine, whatever. In the old days, they'd come up with some kind of survey and put out a press release about it and try and get their name in the newspaper. Now it's just a bit more direct engagement. And so, yeah, that's all fine. What I really, really, really hate are people, especially in Twitter. This is the worst one because it has the AI engine attached to it, Grok, I think it's called. People are now coming up with fake images, and unfortunately does a pretty good job. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fooled by it. It just has to make a point for you to get tons and tons of engagement. And there's quite a few United-related personalities, I'm not quite sure of the right term, really, who do that quite frequently in order to get engagement, and they monetize it, of course. And that is the toxic side of social media that has really invaded Manchester United and the Manchester United community. I don't see that in City World. Obviously, I'm not part of City World deeply, but I follow a few people, normally of the kind of more sensible ilk, and a few trolls just to work out what's going on. But that doesn't seem to be the case. That's not how City fans engage with this team. So, and of course, they've been super successful. So why would they? I suppose.
I think it's a bit different because of the case and everything. I've always felt like they're bonded together by that us against the world mentality.
Circled the wagons,
Yeah. And I think that's been a strategy of the club through what you and I consider the sports washing era, where it's like they're trying to bring down, this is the red cartel. This is the elite clubs who already have a seat at the table, try and deny us that. And so they're bonded in a different way, where Manchester United are so, I sort of think of the online fan base as so traumatized by a decade of ineptitude that it does become very my favorite player against your favorite player. And I should put my hand up in terms of the Grok stuff. You might have seen me post one about Rio Ferdinand's sponsored post, which wasn't labeled a sponsored post, about Saudi Arabia.
I didn't see that. I didn't see your reaction, actually.
I did one. I did a picture. I asked Grok to create a picture of a Saudi Arabian man giving Rio Ferdinand a large bag of cash, and then I posted it. But I think
it was obviously a sponsored post. Same with Fabrizio Romano as well. I mean, they really should label them sponsored.
Yeah, well, Colin Miller, a great journalist from Athletic, he pointed out how Rio had previously done a post for the Qatar World Cup and not labelled it an ad.
Yep.
So that's it just read the same. I just think that's the danger with AI, and probably the thing I pointed out when someone commented on mine was like, that's what Grok should be for. It's like, that's what AI, that should be the good thing about AI. Nothing complex. It just needs to be for jokes. But then we do have a line, like you're saying, where there is a danger where it crosses over into what you can call toxic fandom.
Yeah. And not to get too far away from the topic of the day, the other kind of thing I really dislike, which has really invaded United World, is the stake betting marketing campaign, which is highly effective. And for them and whoever's running their campaign, there must be we've got engagement all over the place, which is basically weaponizing the blue tick verification paid for engagement. So on Twitter, I think I'm right in saying that you get paid for the amount of other premium users that engage with your content. And
I've wondered how, I've got one. I've wondered how it works. You just get a payment a fortnight.
Right. But yeah, I think they changed the model. It used to be just views, and now it's engagement from other premium users. I think I'm right in saying.
That explains... There's premium group chats and stuff. You can tell that they could just sharing their content back and forth, and they'll tweet each other.
Yeah. And so it incentivizes a particular kind of thing, which is it's not news based, it's not topical based, it's not chat, it's not real time discussion, which was why Twitter was so great for many things, especially football, but also politics and news and all stuff like that.
Yeah, the breaking news.
Yeah, to a non real time form of content, which is, I will just post a picture, which is of Marcus Rashford with a stake banner along the bottom, and it will say, should we bin this Trashford off or something like that? And it could be a bunch of other players, and they've done it about Garnacho and a bunch of others, right? So
asking a question they don't care about the answer.
Yeah, they don't care about the answer; they just want the engagement. And there was one particular one, and they're so similar, these accounts. I can't even tell one from the other. One particular one a couple of days ago, which was Kvaratskhelia in a Manchester United shirt with Marcus Rashford behind in what looks like a Saudi Arabian club kit, crying.
An accident, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, total bullshit that's an accident. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise. You fucking blind?
Yeah, I just asked Rock to do exactly
what was
that.
Happening there.
Yeah.
Exactly what was happening. And that kind of thing I really, really hate. And it has made the online fandom experience quite toxic and quite unpleasant. Now, over in Blue Sky, there's not enough engagement there yet, not enough people to make it really lively and quite the real-time community thing. And I know we're getting away from the what's happening at the City conversation, but this is the kind of other side of it, of not having that us against the world. It'd be almost great if we had a PSR issue, because and they wanted to haul us up in front of a committee or something like that, because maybe we'd get back to, hey, you know what? We're all on the same side here, fighting these blue bastards over there. So, but that's not true at the moment.
We think about the hated, adored, hated, adored, never ignored. We talk about that, but it doesn't immerse the fan base in the same way. So I think for a certain segment, like there's just groups, don't you feel like? There's like, they call them cliques or whatever you want, but like I sort of have like a list where it's mostly like-minded fans, rivals as well, whose opinions I respect, but the people I can stand. Because if I use my For You page too much, I end up going down that rabbit hole that you talk about, and I end up quote tweeting a United scope who was immersed in controversy today. I don't know if you've seen about the player leaks and everything going along with that. Yeah, we haven't really. You'd think a club with that mentality and that much negative outside attention, it might bond together, but the fandom has just been so toxic for such a long time. It's never like that. But I think it's also immersed in, I'm quite critical of the United stand because I think they set a vitriolic tone for the entire fan culture. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's akin to, in the political world, the role that Fox News plays in the US, right? Because that sets the tone by which every other right-wing pundit or online celebrity kind of follows. And the United Stand has done to their credit, a excellent job of doing what they do, which is to take fairly toxic content and drive engagement and viewership through it. So they do that very well. Is it sounds like United? Culture, right? It's the same in politics. I feel like Donald Trump built an election campaign on short statements that, like, it's the same as, I'm happy to say that, like, Mark Goldbridge does the same thing. So it's clip content that will fact checked after the fact, but once the clip's out there, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I think that's right. And that's my criticism. And I don't care that he's made money. Great, good for him. He's great. He's great at it. No one's denying that he's great at it. All right. Well, I guess we diverged a little bit from our main topic there at the end. United versus City at the Etihad on Sunday. Bloody hell. Come on, lads. Please give us something great. Please. I will be back with Tom on Friday for the post Victoria Pleasant pod, bit of City preview, and with Isabel probably early in the weekend talking about favourite City games. So, Adam, as always, a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.